disease, death. So, and many other conditions, as we have heard. So, till the time we have material body, we have to suffer with those conditions. We have to be entangled, bound by those conditions. So therefore, soul is trapped in this conditioned body, in this body which have many conditioning. Last class, Premananda Chaitanya Prabhu was speaking that if you purchase some mobile phone, they will give some package. You can enjoy certain facilities. But along with those facilities, there is condition applied. So similarly, human form of body or the material body has given for certain purpose. But there is many conditions applied. So which bounds us in this material world, in the cycle of birth and death, in the different species of life. So therefore, unless we practice spiritual life using this human form of life, there is no question of becoming free from these conditions or the trap of this material body or the trap of this material world. So by spiritual practice, you can transcend yourself from the bodily platform to the spiritual platform, and eventually become eligible to going back to Godhead. Therefore, regular practice of spiritual life along basic are very, very important. So, and then we have discussed the conditionings, the different habits, so which is changeable. So the different habits are like a script of the books. So if you change the script, if you change the script of the books, then whole book changes. Similarly, if you change your consciousness in your habit, you change your habits from bad habits to good habits. For example, like somebody wastes his time to seeing some bad movies or videos. Instead of seeing all this nonsense, wasting time, we can watch beautiful video of spirituality. So beautiful videos and pastime of Krishna. So we'll be sending a beautiful video, truth of life. So instead of seeing bad videos which waste our time also, and which turns us into bad activities and bad consciousness and bad habits. So what to practice your regular basis, that becomes your habit. And what's become your habit, that's become your nature. And what's nature you develop, that's become your next body. So this is the science. So what you perform, what is your activity, that's become your habits. On a regular basis, that's become your habit. And what habits you develop, that's become your nature. And what nature you develop, that's become your destination. That's become your next body. So therefore, it's very important what are the conditioning we are developing, or we are developing, cultivating in our life. What is the conditioning we are cultivating in our life? So we have to dovetail bad conditionings, bad habits into the good habits. Like somebody have a desire to read some magazine, newses. So instead of doing that, you can read Bhagavad Gita, which is the manual book of our life. So eating like dirty foodstuffs or like non-vegetarian foodstuffs. Instead of doing that, you can cook very nice, nice vegetarian food stuff and offer it to the Supreme Lord and take it prasad. You have habits of singing a movie song. So which is actually a glorification of a man-woman relationship, which is based on lust. So instead of doing that, you can glorify Sri Krishna. Sing the song glorifying Sri Krishna, who is worthy to be glorified. So whose glorification is the true glorification? Whose glorification will liberate you after your consciousness. So thus, more you practice spiritual life by chanting, by hearing, by remembering, by taking prasad, by associating with the devotees, by reading scripture, by singing, playing instrument, or visiting the holy place, more your consciousness will be uplifted. More you develop all divine values, divine qualities in your life. So in this way, Shreya Kavya Chandrika Vitaranam. So when moon arises, the moon lights, in touch of moonlight, the lotus, the blue lotus blossoms, वो जो कमल होता है वो प्रस्फुटित होता है, उगता है, and then that lotus flower manifests its sweetness, its beauty, its fragrance, and its softness in complete form. Similarly, soul, because it is part and parcel of Krishna, it has all good qualities. But because the soul came in this material world and being in touch with this material nature, lust, greed, anger, and all these things, and trying to enjoy separately from God, soul's all good qualities, soul's all happiness is covered by the conditioned body, conditioned mind, conditioned intelligence, and etc. and ego. When one chant Hare Krishna, or when one come in touch with God in the form of His name, His glorification, His devotees, His prasad, His deity form. So when one practices spiritual life, he develops all good qualities like God, all good qualities of the soul. So thus one can overcome the conditioning. But because people are trying to enjoy separately from God, and therefore the soul is trapped in this material world in conditioning, and then cutthroat competition. So people are always in stress. People are always in anxiety. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
So people are always in stress. People are always in anxiety. So actually, soul is coming from the spiritual world, which is called Vaikuntha. So the spiritual world, its name is Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means Vigato Kunta iti, where there is no kunta, there is no anxiety, because everybody surrendered to God. And God is supplying everything unlimitedly. So there is no anxiety. There is no competition. Because everybody loves God and everybody loves each other. And God is complete and His abode is also complete. So therefore there is no influence of any misery, any conditioning in the spiritual world. And there is no influence of time also in the spiritual world. Not atrapi shamaya. So spiritual world, there is no past, no future. Everything is present because everything is eternal in the spiritual world. Material world, everything is temporary. Past, present, and future. So present is a fraction of time. Like I speak something, immediately it becomes past. Immediately it becomes past. And then present is very fraction of time. And we're thinking of future. So people are fearful about the future and people are morose about their past. Oh, मैंने ये खो दिया. Oh, मैंने ये अच्छे से perform कर सकता था. And what about my future? What will happen to me? What about my career? Now lockdown is going on. How I'll study? How I'll get job? Many people lost their job. Uh, so people are fearful about future. People are morose. Or people are experience shock. शोक करते हैं past के बारे में. And for the present, if they have something, they are very proud about what they have with them. So शोक मोह भय. But the spiritual one, everything is permanent because everything is in the spiritual platform, because everyone is in the spiritual platform, because they are fully surrendered to the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord. So thus, there is no influence of Maya in the spiritual world. There is no influence of Maya in spiritual life. Krishna Surya Samo, Maya hai andhokar, jaha Krishna taha nahi, Maya radhikar. As soon as sun arises, darkness dispels. Similarly, as soon as one becomes Krishna conscious, God conscious, he comes in full knowledge, and there is no influence of Maya, no influence of suffering or anxiety in his life. So thus, spiritual world is Vaikuntha, Vigatkuntha, or spiritual life is also, anyone who practices spiritual, even in the material world, he can experience that happiness. But when soul leaves the spiritual world and come in this material world in order to enjoy separately from God, then he becomes contaminated, he becomes impure, and he becomes entrapped by conditioning and cutthroat competition. So that's like a rainwater is pure, but when it's come in contact with the dirt or earth, it becomes contaminated. Similarly, soul is originally pure, but when soul comes in contact with material nature, the three modes, the souls become impure. And then its original Krishna consciousness, God consciousness become forward. Or in one sense, it is lost. So there is a two society, animal society and human society. So in the animal society, the principle is jiva jivasya jivanam. So one lives, one depends on others. So one food depends on other, means one's food depends on others. So for example, we see that suppose, for example, there is a hen, मुर्गा, तो मुर्गा का कुछ दाना फेंकेंगे तो मुर्गा क्या करता है, आते खाने के लिए, करके आते खाने के लिए, और जब वो खाना खाते हैं, टुक 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 करके खाना खाते हैं, always it is looking for right side and left side, if somebody is coming or not, yes or no. So it is always fearful, because there is lot of competition regarding food. Similarly, we see that many dogs are fighting for one particular foodstuffs. So in the dustbin, we see that many dogs are barking and they're fighting with each other, who can get that particular food. Similarly, we see in the forest that different animals, the tigers, the jackals, they are fighting between each other to grab some particular foodstuffs. So animal kingdom, there is no knowledge. So animals have four activities. I hope you have heard it: eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. Ahara nidra bhai maithunam cha shamana metat pashubhi naranam. Ahar nidra bhai maithun. Maithun matlab sex life. Why matlab defending? So they're always looking for the defense, and therefore they have certain physical facilities, bodily facilities. They have thumb, they have nails, they have ferocious teeth, in order to protect themselves. But human being does not have those things. Because human being is supposed to live on the platform of knowledge. Human being is supposed to live on for the higher purpose of life, and therefore the human being is supposed to live a civilized life with a higher purpose. That is the expectation, and therefore the human society there should not be cutthroat competition. Are you understanding my point? In the animal society, there is no higher knowledge. They're only searching for food, sex, protection, and sleep. They don't have higher purpose of life. Are you clear the point I am saying?
Yes, sir.
Are all intelligent boys are hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So because the animal society there is no higher intelligence, and therefore they naturally end up with the competition. Jivo, jivaso, jivanam. Jinedo. So, but in the human society, human being has given higher intelligence. धर्म ही देशम अधिको विशेषो धर्मे न हीना पशु भी समाना. So human society has been given the higher intelligence. So that what is the higher intelligence? So knowledge means we have taught you in the previous classes. MSc. Knowledge means MSc. M for knowledge about matter. S for knowledge about soul. And MSc, C for controller of both matter and spirit, that is God. So that is complete knowledge. So MSc, so knowledge means MSc, knowledge about matter, knowledge about spirit, and the controller of both. So that is complete knowledge. So therefore, knowledge means my identification, what is my position, and what is my position with the Supreme Lord, who is the owner of everything. And knowledge means what is my relationship with the Supreme Lord and in this world. And thus, what is my responsibility? We have already discussed before, we have two duties, conditional duty and occupational duty. That is complete application of the knowledge. So human being has given the higher intelligence through scripture, through the parampara, disciplic succession. So in order to execute the higher purpose of life and not to live in an animalistic way, human life is a junction where he can choose his destination. He will go back again in the cycle of the 80 lakhs of species of animals, or he will come out from the cycle of birth and death. So we see, and therefore human form of life is the life of discipline, life of values, life of morality, and life of devotion for the Supreme Lord. So we see that in the human society there is lot of values and discipline has been there. For example, like when somebody get married, some girl get married, so she apply kumkum on her forehead. So as soon as a man see that girl that applying kumkum, he can understand that this girl is married. she belongs to someone else, and therefore I cannot see her on. So, uh, so, uh, so, so that man can think that this girl belongs to some man, and I can also get married and lead a family life, lead a disciplined family life. So, uh, so everybody has given the right to execute duty and enjoy certain level according to the scripture, and therefore there is no competition. So everybody has given their own stay, they have their home, they have their food to eat. Their food is cooked in the kitchen, and then they can live a peaceful life. So everything is given in the nature, in the society. In the society, everything is given. So their food is given, vegetables, water, fruits, everything is given. So different type of requirement. Food ho, yes, so yeah, protection ho, everything has been given, and one can take his quota, and use it in a according to the law of scripture. So that is spoken in Isha Upanishad. Isha Bhashyam idam sarvam jat kinchit jagatam jagat tene tattana bhunjita ma hrido varsa siddhanam. Next slide. Isha Bhashyam idam sarvam jat kinchit jagatam jagat. So Isha Bhashyam idam sarvam. Sarvam मतलब सब कुछ, ईशा मतलब ईश्वर, सब कुछ ईश्वर का है. और इसीलिए जिनका जितना कोटा है, किंचित जगताम जगत, जिनका जितना कोटा है उनको उनका कोटा आपने मतलब क्या बोलते कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, और इस प्रकार वो खुश रह सकते हैं. तो मनुष्य जीवन में प्रकृति के द्वारा सारे सुविधा प्रदान किए हैं, और उन्नत चेतना, उन्नत बुद्धि भगवान ने दिए हैं कि वो उन्नत बुद्धि के द्वारा वो भगवान के नियमों के अनुसार जीवन जिए, और बेसिक नेसेसिटी को कलेक्ट करने के साथ साथ द गोल ऑफ लाइफ उसको फोकस कर सकते हैं. So I wanted to emphasize that the human form of life, that's a law, that's a value, and the basic necessities has provided, so that he can become peaceful and focus on the ultimate goal. So that is the purpose of human form of life. So therefore, in the human form of life, there should not be a competition. There should not be a competition. The cutthroat competition is the symptom of animalistic society. Cutthroat competition, which we are seeing currently in the society, in the different field, in the working field, either in business, either in IT sector, either in different exams, or whatever field it may be. So that is the symptom of animalistic society. So the goal of the human form of life is not sense gratification. Sense gratification on the bodily platform is the symptom of animals. Animals do not have higher intelligence, and therefore they are searching for the sense gratification. And thus, animals do not have any freedom. Animals do not have any freedom, and they do not have any choice. They are just conditioned by the nature's law. But the human form has given a higher intelligence. So, human form of life has given higher intelligence by which he can identify or understand with the help of scripture that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. And I'm transmigrating one body to another body because I'm trying to enjoy my senses without the injunction, outside the injunction of scripture. जो शास्त्र विधि उत्सृज्य वर्तते काम कारतः, शास्त्र के विधि विधानों को उल्लंघन करके मैं भोग करने की प्रयास कर रहा हूं. तो 10 शास्त्र विधि उत्सृज्य वर्तते काम कारतः, काम कार्य में प्रवृत्त होते हैं. न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न परम गतिम. For him there is no happiness, neither in this life nor in the next. There is no happiness and also siddhi, there is no perfection. So in the human form of life, one can understand, one can identify the position of God, the law of God, and abide by that law, and thus lead a God-centered life, a civilized life. So that is why higher intelligence has been given. So when one understands that the goal of human form of life is not sense gratification, then he control his mind and senses. He control his mind and senses, and thus he remain fixed on the goal of life. He remain fixed, going back to Godhead. So thus human being, an intelligent human being, or civilized human being, or spiritual human being can save himself from the cutthroat competition. Currently, like due to COVID-19, so 3 millions of in America, 3 millions of people became jobless, and that influence also have been present in India. So many people become jobless. From school or a high school, 12th class, he joined his graduation course or colleges. So first year pass, हम बहुत एंजॉय करेंगे, कॉलेज में घुस गए अभी. लेकिन जब सेकेंड ईयर, थर्ड ईयर, फोर्थ ईयर आता है, then immediately he start experiencing the heat of cutthroat competition. To get job, so much hard struggle and hard study, he has to perform. And even after getting job, there is always insecurity that he might lose the job. And if he has a job, he has to work hard. Salary is very less. So in this way, current scenario, people in all the background, so even the educated background, especially the engineers, so much struggles for getting job. So in this way, this cutthroat competition is going on in this world. So why this cutthroat competition is going on? Because people lost their intelligence. People lost the goal of their life. I was hearing a story. There is a institution who teach for give training for journalists. uh, so so what happened to that teaching institution? So they were nicely progressing. So two, three professors were means teachers were teaching, and they are growing gradually, very nicely. 3, 4 years passed. So so the head of the institution, who was also another one teacher, so he was very happy. So then what happened that that one of the professors of that institution uh, went out of that institution and began a separate institution. And what he did, he employed some IT professors, and he started taking some less money in order to get more students in the beginning. So as he started doing that, as soon as he started doing that, immediately, what happened? His business, the number of students increased 5 times more. So when uh, when the previous institution head saw that his own institution professor went out and began another separate institution, and his business is running far more, far better than him, he became very angry. He became very jealous. And next 1 year, that new professor who began a new center, he multiplied his business. He opened a four more institution, and this person became very angry and he shooted him. So this is the situation. So people are jealous of others' success. So he can be happy whatever he's getting, because he's also getting. He may be getting more than him, but because people people want more and more. Dil mange more. People want to enjoy more. Why? Because goal of life is not going back to Godhead. Goal of life is not going back to Godhead. Goal of life is not to control the senses, because sense gratification is cause of our entanglement or our further suffering. Now, because the living entity, human being, lost their higher intelligence, therefore they are thinking that by sense gratification I will become happy. And as soon as they lose their higher intelligence, they come to the animal platform. So what is the difference between human being and animal? Human being have higher intelligence, and therefore they have given the facilities. They have given some independence by the nature of God, by the law of God, so that they can be peaceful with their basic necessities. They can accumulate their basic necessities peacefully in terms of eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. And they can focus on the higher goal. But when the human being lose the higher goal, higher intelligence, then he comes to the animal platform. Next slide. And thus the human being, though have human body, change the slide. Who have human body, but caught up into the animalistic activities. So अक्षय साइड चेंज कर सकते हैं ना?
I've already changed it.
But it's not showing here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So this cutthroat competition is going on for many years. Huh? So so
Screen
in
is it now?
huh?
Is it visible?
It is not visible.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Slides are not visible.
No.
Sir, no. No, sir.
I'm sharing again.
Visible now. It's visible.
Okay.
So so as we have discussed that that the animals because they don't have higher intelligence and therefore they work harder and harder, and they have competition for eating, for sleeping, for the place of sleep, for the food, and for the medical. And when the human being lose that higher intelligence, which is given by God, he also end up with the same competition, rat race. So, so we see that in India, and after that, came and they and there was long battle going on between India and the Britishers for some piece of land. So, and then you see that that same war is going on now also. So same war is going on now also, like India and Pakistan and China, currently China and India. So, so currently, like China and India, they're fighting for a piece of land which is not conducive for staying. Like minus degree temperature, you cannot do agriculture there. But the two big country, they're fighting with each other with lot of weapons and their technology and everything, just for the piece of land. So so the point is that when the human being lose the higher purpose of life individually and collectively, they caught up with competition in an individual level and in a universal level. So so and then all miseries and all insecurity comes in the life, and therefore in the Vedic age, the system was that in the first 25 years of life, the students or the children were sent to Gurukul by every parents, and they were trained by the purpose of life. They were educated by the knowledge of scripture, how to collect our basic necessities and how to fulfill the purpose of soul. And thus, when they used to enter into their working life or the married life, they were not caught up with the cutthroat competition of the sense gratification. In the Vedic age, people used to work for the 4 months and live peacefully rest 8 months of the year. the grain which they used to cultivate in the 4 months, that was in such a quantity that would maintain them for rest of the year. And rest of the year they used to focus very peacefully on the goal of life. So because they have higher intelligence, therefore they were not running after sense gratification like rat race. People think that sense gratification will make me happy. Next slide. People think that sense gratification will make me happy. And they don't have any higher information about the real happiness. They don't have any information about the real happiness. So, there is a story given here by Alexander. I spoke some of the MMC classes. So Alexander was a great king, all of you know, and he was conquering many countries. So generally people know him as a great king, but he was also a great philosopher. And in very early age, he died. So before he died, he called his minister and he them for me. The minister he said that when I will die, take my body with the procession and all the doctors who will be treating me, they also go with the procession. The minister said, yes, the thing should be done. Thing will be done. Then the next thing you have to do, that whatever money I have accumulated, gold and silver I have accumulated, let those gold and silver should be distributed, scattered in the way of procession. Minister said, yes. Then the third thing you have to do, that when you bury myself in the coffin, let my 2 hands should be outside of the coffin. Then the minister said, yes, it will be done. Then the minister asked that, my dear sir, why you want to do these 3 things? Can you enlighten us? Then Alexander says that when I will die, I want to pass 3 messages to all my citizens. The minister says, what is those 3 messages? Kindly tell us. Then he says that I wanted to say that Alexander was a great king, but still he could not save his life with the most powerful doctor using the costliest medicine. So I wanted to say that this material world is temporary and you cannot protect your life even using the costliest medicine of this world. The second message I wanted to say that Alexander had collected a lot of money and gold and silver accumulated, and he could not take a single coin with him. And therefore his hands are outside of the coffin so that people can see that he went with empty hand. So thus I wanted to pass this message that this material world is temporary and material happiness is also temporary. And if you only this temporary happiness, temporary success, then you cannot carry anything with you for the next life. Thus, the account of the body is Diwala bank. Diwala bank. So, person who is only searching for that happiness neither become happy in this world nor in the next life. So, people end up with a cutthroat competition just for the sake of the happiness based on body. So, an intelligent person with the help of scripture, with the help of sadhus, try to understand what is the real success of life, what is the real goal of life, what is the true happiness of life, what is the things which if I accumulate I'm never going to lose. And therefore they focus on the higher purpose of life. They focus on the Shashwat bank, the eternal bank account, which is spiritual bank account. And therefore, they try to practice spiritual life. And with the basic necessities. So to live in this world, we have to maintain ourselves. There is no problem in that. But problem is that when we try to enjoy more and more in the bodily platform, and thus we become entangled more and more. So material life is like material life or material desire is compared with a fever, and more you increase it, more you increase your fever. So the purpose of life is not to increase our fever. Purpose of life is to reduce the fever. Some temperature is there, some temperature is required. Like our body has some standard temperature which is required. It's not like that we don't have to eat, we don't have to work. We have to work according to our necessities. But we should not work hard more for the sense enjoyment so that we don't have time for our spiritual practice. And then only we lose our intelligence, we lose our higher goal of life, and we end up in the cutthroat competition. And today's cutthroat competition is the lack of spiritual knowledge, lack of spiritual practice, lack of spiritual leader. Because of lack of spiritual leader, there is lack of spiritual knowledge. And because lack of spiritual knowledge, therefore lack of spiritual practice. So today's school and colleges and education center, there's no spiritual subject matter because there's no spiritual leader. And therefore, all educated boys and girls end up with sense gratification before they go to the working life. Drinking, intoxication, illicit sex, all bad habits, filled with the youths of life. All youths life. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
So, in current society, people don't have time to sleep. People don't have, because they have to go for night shift. People don't have time for eating. Whole day they are working, and somehow for 20 minutes they go out and eat fast food and immediately rush for the office. They're working 12 hours, 14 hours. Still they